Could Ronaldo run a country? Look at him, 41 years old, still rising above grown men like he's stepping over toddlers, still screaming, Sue! Into the world like the void owes him money. Cristiano Ronaldo has scored over 900 career goals. He has won 5 Ballon d'Ors. He has abs you could grate Parmesan on and probably draw a monkey on. He is, by every conceivable metric, one of the most disciplined, optimized, hyper driven human beings to ever lace up a boot. So today we're asking the only logical follow up question. Could Cristiano Ronaldo run a country? Could this man, this specimen, this brand, this individual who has reportedly never voluntarily eaten a dessert in 15 years successfully run an actual sovereign country? Not be famous in a country, not own a yacht near a country, run one. Budgets, diplomacy, infrastructure, the whole horrible bureaucratic nightmare of it. I think the answer is yes. Let's get into what would happen if Cristiano Ronaldo would run a country. Chapter 1, the campaign. Cristiano! First, the campaign. And honestly, he doesn't even really need one because he's the most famous footballer in the world. Most politicians spend 2 years and several $100 million convincing strangers to like them. Ronaldo has stadiums of 40,000 people chanting his own name back at him as a sport. That's not a campaign rally, that's a Tuesday. His slogan writes itself. Vote Ronaldo, he is already winning. Sue! His opponents would try the normal angles. He's never held public office. Sure, but he's held a Portuguese national team captaincy for over a decade through multiple generations of teammates aging out around him, which is honestly more political survival skill than most actual senators out here. He's out of touch with the regular people. Also true, but have you met regular politicians? At least Ronaldo's out of touchness comes with a six pack and a private jet, so you can see what your tax money would theoretically be funding. And the debate stage, picture it, other candidates shuffling index cards going, well, my opponent's plan for the economy is, and Ronaldo just stands there. He doesn't say anything, just slowly removes his jacket and hands it to an aide like he's about to take a free kick at the concept of inflation itself. Ronaldo, approval rating 100%. Ronaldo would win an election in a landslide, obviously. Let's see what would happen in the an economy of this country. Okay, the economy. This is where things get real interesting because Ronaldo's personal financial philosophy appears to be acquire enormous wealth, then spend a meaningful percentage of it on watches. Reports have suggested his watch collection alone is valued in the tens of millions. As a campaign promise, that's actually incredible because it means his entire economic worldview can be summarized as buy the asset, watches go up, line goes up, everything is fine. Apply that to a national budget, and you get a country that is aggressively invested in luxury goods, cologne lines, and partnership deals, and suspiciously underfunded on, say, public transit. The national bus system would just be him personally flying everywhere. And somehow that becomes the new infrastructure plan. Why build train tracks when the prime minister himself can simply be very fast? But here's the twist, and I mean this completely sincerely. This man is a phenomenal brand builder. He turned a guy who was good at kicking a ball into a $1 billion empire of hotels, gyms, fragrances, and underwear lines. If you put that energy into sovereign wealth fund management, you might actually get something terrifying and effective. Imagine national debt being addressed, not through diplomacy or taxation, but through Ronaldo personally staring into a camera and saying the country's name with enough charisma that global investors simply feel compelled to give it money. It's not a sustainable fiscal model, but for about 18 months, the stock market will go absolutely berserk. Now, what would foreign policy look like in this country? Now, foreign policy. This is genuinely the chapter I'm the most excited about Because international diplomacy and professional football have one enormous thing in common: everyone is secretly a sore loser, and everyone pretends otherwise on the camera. Ronaldo has spent 20 plus years getting jeered in a way by stadiums of tens of thousands of people simultaneously and responding by simply scoring a goal and cupping his ears at them. That is somehow a more mature response to international hostility than most actual diplomatic incidents record in history. Picture a tense summit, two nations on the brink of a trade dispute. Normally, this takes years of back channel negotiation. Now, picture Ronaldo walking in, sitting down across from the other head of state, saying absolutely nothing like this, and just doing the calm muscle face flex like this. The other side folds in 9 minutes, not because of any policy logic, purely vibes based capitulation. World leaders agree. Nobody wants to be the one who makes them angry. Of course, there's a risk here, too. This is also a man with a documented history of taking things personally. Critics, rival countries, a reporter who said something slightly mean in 2019. If diplomacy goes sideways, we are not looking at sanctions. We are looking at Ronaldo unfollowing an entire country on Instagram, which, let's be honest, might actually be more devastating to national morale than sanctions. In his big stage on the World Cup, gone are the carefully workshopped paragraphs about shared values and mutual prosperity. Instead, every address to the UN ends the exact same way: a long pause, a slow point directly at the camera. And this is not a moment, it's history. I tune in for every single one. Chapter 4: The Cabinet. Every leader needs a cabinet. Let's build the Ronaldo cabinet. Minister of Defense has to be someone built like a fortress who has spent a career observing physical punishment and getting back up immediately. So obviously, a retired professional center back. I'm thinking Pepe. Someone whose entire worldview is nothing is getting past me. Applied now to actual national borders instead of just the 18-yard box. Secretary of State. It needs to be someone smooth, multilingual, capable of charming a room. I'm thinking I show speed. So naturally, whichever retired teammate was best at the post-match interview where you say absolutely nothing of substance for 4 minutes, but sound incredible doing it, that skill, it turns out, is the entire job of a Secretary of State. Now, the press secretary. This one's obvious. It's whoever has spent the most time managing Ronaldo's actual social media, because that person has already survived the single hardest communications job on the planet. Explaining a 3 a.m. shirtless gym selfie to the public is harder than explaining a policy reversal. The Minister of Health. Say what you want about this man, but his personal fitness and recovery regimen is studied by actual sports scientists. Put that obsessive, borderline monastic discipline into a national healthcare system, and you get the most aggressively rail hydrated population in human history. Sugary drinks banned, naps mandated, everyone sleep tracked. It's somehow a wellness utopia, but faintly terrifying. National dessert consumption down 100%. Now, the chief of staff, this has to be his actual real life agent, because anyone who has spent 2 decades managing this specific brand at this specific scale could probably also figure out how a personal postal service works eventually through sheer force of will. It's a chaotic cabinet. It is also a cabinet full of people who have never once missed a flight, which honestly already puts them ahead of several real governments. Domestic policy and the people. Now, here's where it could get rocky. Domestic policy means dealing with regular citizens who have regular problems like the pothole on Main Street and why is my electricity bill so high? These are not problems typically solved by scoring in the 93rd minute. Ronaldo's instinct, based on everything we know about him, would be to treat the entire country like a locker room. Motivational speeches, inspirational posters, a Sue chant, a national anthem that's somehow also a pump up song. And listen, that might actually work better than you think, because this man's entire career has been built on convincing people, including himself, that effort alone can overcome literally anything. including age, gravity, and at least one Spanish league's entire defensive lineup. Sorry, Spain. The problem is policy isn't always solved by trying harder. Sometimes a town just needs a sewage system. You cannot step over a sewage system problem the way you would step over a sliding tackle. Proposed infrastructure budget. One very nice gym nationwide. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. The man is stupidly good at making people believe in something bigger than themselves. That is weirdly the actual job description of national leadership. Belief is contagious, and confidence is contagious. And if there's one renewable resource Ronaldo will never run out of, it's confidence. Now, the rivalry question. We can't do this video without addressing the obvious. What happens when a neighboring country is run by a certain other legendary footballer, like I show speed? This is no longer foreign policy. This is no longer geopolitics. This is the most personal, most emotionally loaded border dispute in the history of human civilization. And every summit between those two nations is secretly still about who's better. Even when their agenda says fishing rights, trade negotiations would take 11 times longer than is necessary because neither side can resist bringing up a match from 2017. Every joint press conference ends not with a handshake, but with both leaders just staring at each other for a while, for slightly too long, while aides quietly sweat. And honestly, that's a good thing for the rest of us. Nothing keeps two world leaders this engaged, this competitive, this committed to winning as a personality trait like an old rivalry that never actually needed to involve global trade policy in the first place. Now, the verdict. So, could Cristiano Ronaldo run a country? Realistically, it would be chaotic. Sue! The infrastructure would be inconsistent. The cabinet meetings would always somehow end with someone doing optional core work. The national budget would have an alarming percentage allocated to a fragrance line. And every single press conference would end with a man in a sharp looking suit looking dead into the camera and saying something that sounds profound, but if you write it down later, it doesn't actually mean anything. Sue! Which again, go check some actual political speeches. That's not even that disqualifying. But here's what he'd have that most leaders don't: unshakable self belief, a work ethic that has not taken a day off in 2 decades, and the bizarre, undeniable ability to make tens of thousands of strangers feel something just by walking into a room. Most countries are run by people who are good at being liked. Ronaldo has spent his entire life being run toward by entire stadiums at the same time on purpose. That's nothing. That might terrifyingly be most of the job. Ronaldo walking off a pitch into fog lights, slow fade. So would I vote for President Ronaldo? So, yes, I would. Would I trust him with foreign policy, a national budget, and the nuclear codes? I trust him more than Trump. Would I watch every single second of it watch happen on television? So, obviously. Now, tell me in the comments, what do you think would happen if Cristiano Ronaldo ran a country?